know what's even scarier than being poor? It's working hard for 30, 40, even 50 years and still lying awake at night worrying about rent, hospital bills, and the next emergency. Not because you're lazy, not because you're stupid, but because a hidden system of habits has been quietly running your life without your permission. Tonight, I don't want to talk about the economy, your boss, or the government. I want to show you the 3 invisible habits that keep good, hard-working people stuck in the same place forever. Think about your own life for a moment. You set the alarm, you drag yourself out of bed, you rush through traffic or squeeze into a crowded bus. You give your energy, your time, your health to your job for 8, 10, sometimes 12 hours. You come home exhausted, you eat, you scroll on your phone for a bit, and then you fall asleep only to repeat the exact same thing tomorrow. Weeks become months. Months become years. And at the end of the month, after all that effort, you open your banking app and it's almost the same number, sometimes even less. Rent, food, small debts, small rewards for yourself, and suddenly the money is gone. Ladies and gentlemen, this is important. I am not talking about lazy people. I am talking about hardworking people who are living in what I call survival mode. People who are not living, they are just getting through the months. So the real question is not, are you working? The real question is, how are you working? How are you spending? How are you thinking about tomorrow? Because your life is not only shaped by your job or your salary, it is shaped by the habits behind your job, your money, and your mindset. In this message, I want to show you 3 invisible systems of habits that quietly keep good people stuck. The first is the habit of living only to survive, never to build. Always asking, how do I make it through this month? And never asking, how do I make the next 10 years different? The second is the habit of falling into money traps and environment traps, spending to look successful, surrounding yourself with people and places that pull you down instead of lifting you up. And the third is the habit of blaming and giving away all your power to the government, to your boss, to your parents, to everything except to yourself. By the end of this video, my friends, you will see yourself clearly. You will know exactly which of these 3 systems is controlling you the most. And once you can see the habit, you can finally begin to break it. Let's talk about the first habit that quietly keeps good people poor. I call it survival mode. Survival mode is when your whole life becomes about solving this month and you never build anything for the next 10 years. You wake up, you work, you pay, you repeat. You are not planning your future. You are just surviving your present. Look at what happens when the salary arrives. The money comes in, and before you can even feel rich for one day, it starts leaving. Rent, groceries, electricity, a little debt from last month. Something small to reduce stress, a nice meal, a coffee, a drink with friends. Maybe a birthday, a wedding, a celebration you cannot miss. Maybe a little treat because I worked so hard, I deserve it. And all of these reasons sound reasonable. None of them look dangerous, but together they create one brutal truth. Money passes through your life like a tourist. It visits, it stays for a few days, and then it leaves. It never settles down. It never builds a home. Let me paint you a picture. There is a young office worker, 10 years in the same kind of job. Every year, the salary goes up a little bit. At first, he eats simple lunches, uses an old phone, wears basic clothes. 5 years later, the lunches become fancier. The phone becomes latest model. The weekends become restaurant trips. Cafes and getaways he pays for installments. 10 years later, his lifestyle looks richer, but his savings account looks exactly the same, close to zero. He didn't become richer. He just became better at spending. Then there is the freelancer. On paper, he earns quite well. Some months, he makes more than his friends with stable jobs, but he never writes anything down. No budget, no plan, no system. Money comes in, money goes out. Online shopping here, eating out there, helping a relative, buying something for work, paying an old debt. At the end of the year, he sits down, looks back, and realizes he has no idea where the money went. He worked the whole year and has nothing to show for it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is survival mode. Survival mode is not about how much you earn. It is about the speed. The speed of money going out versus the speed of money coming in. When you live only to survive, the outflow will always be faster than the inflow. You can double your income and still feel broke because survival habits will simply double your spending. And survival mode doesn't only empty your wallet, it empties you. When every month feels like a race just to pay bills, you live tired. You come home with no energy left to learn, to grow, to think ahead. You become short-tempered. Little things make you angry. You don't read, you don't reflect, you don't invest in yourself because you are mentally and physically exhausted. Then something worse happens. You start telling yourself a story. This is just the life. This is how it is for people like me. This is all I can do. And that story becomes another cage. Poor people do not stay poor because they don't work. Many of the hardest working people in the world are stuck in survival mode. They stay poor because every part of their system is designed for today, not for tomorrow. Their job is for today. Their spending is for today. Their thinking is for today. There is no space left for the future to grow. So I want to ask you, honestly, are you living just to get through the month? Or are you living in a way that removes one burden from your shoulders 10 years from now? Are you spending money like someone who will live forever and never lose a job? Or are you saving like someone who knows that tomorrow can change in one phone call? Because until you step out of survival mode, you will keep running, you will keep sweating, you will keep working hard and still stay in the same place. Now let's talk about the second habit that keeps people poor while making them feel smart. It is the habit of falling into traps, money traps, life traps. And the worst part is this. Many of these traps are designed to make you feel clever while they quietly steal your future. The first one is the consumer trap, the trap of looking rich. Today, it's not just about cars and phones. It's about limited edition sneakers, branded hoodies, the latest headphones, the perfect cafe, the aesthetic vacation. You don't just buy a jacket. You buy the right logo in the right photo under the right lighting so that social media can see it. You tell yourself, it's just a treat. It's just for memories. It's just so I don't feel left out. But here's the truth. You are not buying a product. You are buying a story you want to tell about yourself. I am successful. I am fun. I am living my best life. And once that story becomes your identity, your money will always flow in the direction of that story. You won't ask, can I afford this? You'll ask, what will people think if I don't? The second trap is fear. The fear of risk that leads you into the biggest risk of all. People say, I don't want to start a business. What if I fail? I don't want to invest. What if I lose money? I don't want to learn a new skill. What if I never use it? So they choose what looks safe. Same job, same skill, same level, year after year. They think staying still protects them. But let me give you an image. Imagine two people standing in a strong river. One decides to swim slowly toward the shore. The other says, I'll just stand here and do nothing. That's safer. After 1 hour, who is further from safety? Not the swimmer, the one who stood still. Because the water is always moving. And life is the same. Prices go up, technology changes, skills expire, opportunities pass. When everything around you moves forward, staying in the same place is another way of going backwards. Doing nothing becomes the most dangerous choice. But why do we choose that? We know we should move. We know we should grow, and yet we freeze. There is a reason. Your brain was not designed to make you rich. It was designed to keep you safe. Psychologists call it loss aversion. The pain of losing feels about twice as strong as the joy of winning. So even if the opportunity is good, your brain whispers, what if you lose? Better stay where you are. That is why poor habits feel so comfortable. You spend a little to feel better now. You avoid new skills because you might look stupid. You keep the same job because at least it's familiar. Then your mind starts defending these choices. I'm just waiting for the right moment. I'll start when I have more money. I'm being careful, not cowardly. It sounds logical, but many times it is not logic. It is your brain protecting your comfort zone and sacrificing your future. The third trap is procrastination. The I'll do it later trap. At 25, you say, I'll start saving when I earn more. At 30, you say, I'll invest when I'm more stable. At 35, you say, I'll learn a new skill when life calms down. At 40, you say, I'll think about business when the kids are older. The sentence changes a little, but the meaning stays the same. Not now. Why? Because your brain loves cheap dopamine. It prefers the small pleasure of scrolling, watching, buying, relaxing right now over the quiet, invisible reward of building something that may take years. So every time you say, one day I will, you are not just delaying a task, you are delaying a better version of yourself. The fourth trap is the environment, the ecosystem you live in. We often say, you are the average of your 5 closest friends. That is true, but it is bigger than 5 people. It is the air you breathe every day. Think about 2 neighborhoods. In the first one, every conversation is about debt, lottery tickets, gossip, who divorced who bought a new motorbike on credit. No one talks about books. No one talks about skills. No one talks about building anything. In that place, even if you want to grow, you will feel strange, out of place, almost wrong. In the second neighborhood, people talk about courses they are taking, small shops they are opening, job opportunities they heard about, side projects they are testing. They share tips on saving, on freelancing, on investing small amounts. In that environment, even if you are lazy, you will feel pushed to improve, just to keep up. Sociologists call this the ecosystem effect. It means your results are not only about your talent or your salary. They are about the network of people, habits, and norms around you. If your ecosystem is poor in ideas, poor in ambition, poor in discipline, your chances of escaping poverty are almost zero. Not because you are weak, but because you are swimming in the wrong water. But when you step into an ecosystem of growth, a community, a workplace, a circle of friends who treat learning, saving, and building as normal, your effort suddenly multiplies. The same energy you use to survive can now be used to rise. So, ladies and gentlemen, look carefully at your life. Are you trapped in looking rich instead of becoming rich? Are you choosing safety that is actually pulling you backwards? Are you hiding behind later while the years quietly disappear? Are you working hard inside an ecosystem that refuses to grow? The problem is not whether you are trying. The real question is, in which trap are you trying so hard to succeed? There is one habit more dangerous than spending wrong, fearing risk, or procrastinating. It is the habit of believing that everything is someone else's fault. People don't always say it out loud, but you hear it between the lines. If the government was better, I'd be fine. If my boss paid me more, I'd be rich. If my parents had money, my life would be different. If the economy, the market, the times were different, I would succeed too. Blame becomes a blanket. It keeps you warm for a moment, but it keeps you asleep. Let me give you a few pictures. First, imagine a young man in his 30s. He grew up poor. His parents never had savings, never had a business, never had education. Every time life gets hard, he repeats the same sentence. Of course I'm stuck. My parents gave me nothing. What do you expect? It sounds reasonable. It sounds true. But listen carefully. Every time he says that, what is he really doing? He is saying, my past control my future. I have no say. He thinks he is describing reality, but he is actually building a prison with his own words. Second, imagine a woman who has been at the same company for 5 years. She complains, they never promote me. They don't see my value. This company is unfair. But in those same 5 years, she has not learned one new skill. She hasn't taken a course, updated her CV, or tested the job market once. She waits for the company to change while she stays exactly the same. Is the company perfect? No. But when you give 100% of the responsibility to them, how much power is left for you? Third, imagine someone who keeps saying, my country has no opportunity. This place is hopeless. Yet they have never tried to learn language online, never applied for a remote job, never taken a global course, never tested selling a product or service outside their city. They blame the whole system, but they have never checked the limits of their own effort. I am not saying governments, bosses, or systems are innocent. The world is not fair. But here is the harsh truth. The moment you blame, you hand over your power. Every time you point the finger, you sign a paper that says, someone else is driving my life. I'm just a passenger. Blame is the fastest way to feel lighter and the slowest way to ever get better. Let me tell you a simple story. 2 brothers grow up in the same poor family. Same house, same parents, same street, same school. The first brother spends his whole life saying, my parents didn't give me anything. That's why I'm like this. He used his past as a verdict, a final sentence. There is nothing to do but accept. The second brother looks at the same reality and says, because my parents couldn't give me anything, I have to be the one who starts something for the next generation. He uses his past as a reason to move, not as an excuse to stay. 10, 15 years later, their lives look very different. Not because one had better luck, but because one used the pain to justify staying stuck, and the other used the pain to justify breaking the pattern. Blame is seductive. It gives you a story where you are the victim, and victims don't have to act. They just have to endure. It makes your heart feel lighter for one evening and your life heavier for many years. So ask yourself honestly, Who are you giving your power to? Your boss, your parents, your country, the economy, your ex, your past? Blame is like locking your own door and then shouting at the world because you can't find the exit. If you're watching this and you are in your 40 seconds, 50 seconds, maybe even your 60 seconds, you might be thinking, all of this sounds good, but be honest, is there still time for me? Let's talk about that. I once met a man who was 62 years old. His whole life, he had worked hard, done what he was told, paid his bills late, carried debt, and quietly believed one sentence: it's too late for me. I'll just try not to be a burden. One day, he heard something very simple. You don't control when you start. You only control whether you start. For some reason, that line hit him differently. At 62, he made a decision most people make at 22. He didn't start a unicorn startup. He didn't become a crypto millionaire. He did something far more boring and far more powerful. He learned one new skill that made him a little more valuable at work. He stopped buying little rewards that were actually big leaks. He wrote down every expense, started paying off his smallest debt first, and built the habit of saving a small amount every month. No drama, no overnight success. Just a small, consistent shift. At 68, he was not a billionaire. He was something else. He was the first person in his family to be completely debt-free. He was the first grandfather in his family who could say, if something happens to me, my grandchildren will still be okay. He told me, I didn't become rich, but for the first time, I feel like my life is finally facing the right direction. Not everyone who hears this message at 20 will act on it. But anyone who decides to change at 40, 50, 60 is sending a silent message to the next generation. You don't have to start from where I started. I came this far so you can begin further ahead. It is never too late to stop passing down excuses and start passing down a better starting line. Let's be honest for a moment. Not every rich person looks happy. You've seen the headlines. Entrepreneurs burned out, billionaires depressed, business owners dying from stress. So if all we said was getting rich will fix everything, that wouldn't be wisdom. That would be advertising. Money has a price. To grow, you will have to say no to some parties, some late night scrolling, some short-term comfort. You will face pressure, doubt, and people who don't understand why you're changing. But here's the part most people miss. Wealth is not the villain. The way you chase it can be, if you sprint, ignore your health, destroy your relationships, and measure your life only by numbers, you will pay a heavy cost. But if you build wealth through healthy habits, clear boundaries, and knowing when enough is enough, money becomes a tool, not a master. That brings us back to the three groups of habits we talked about. There are habits that pull you down: survival mode, money traps, blame, and there are habits that pull you up, building instead of just surviving, taking small, smart risks, taking full responsibility. You can't control where you were born, your starting salary, or the global economy. But you can control this. Will you keep living in survival mode? Will you keep standing still? Will you keep giving your power away by blaming everything except your habits? When this video ends, don't try to change your whole life. Just pick a few seeds. Write down one habit you will let go of. One friend you'll see less because they drag you backwards. One skill you will start learning. One expense you will cut so you can plan that money into your future. And then think of one person who is living exactly like you used to live. Send them this video and say, watch this. Then we can change together. Tomorrow morning, you'll wake up as the same person. The only question is, will you wake up carrying the same old habits, or will you quietly start changing them one by one?